Well, I've got 10 o'clock by mine, so I do want to go ahead and just welcome everybody to the session. As I said, my name is Arthur Williams, and I am an instructional coach at the Lakeside Academy. It's a pre-K through 5 school. Also with us today is going to be Jessica Ghazi. She is at Howard, and she's going to be helping to run the chat here today. And I believe, Jessica, I know you're the science lead over there, but what do you teach over there?
Chemistry and biology.
Yep. So there's that. So that'll be outstanding. So as I'm running the presentation, it's a little harder to see what's going on in the chat. So if you have questions, she'll jump in and let me know if there's an issue or if there's anything that you want me to show. So here with us in spirit today is Colleen Ryan. She is a kindergarten teacher at Rivermont Elementary, and she's a ClassDojo ambassador, which is kind of like the Superman version of ClassDojo. So you're getting kind of the poor man's second here. Hey, it's Tony. But if you are like, oh, I really got to hear from Colleen, there are recorded sessions from Monday and Tuesday available on the PD document that you use to get here, and you can go back and check any of those out. And this one as well will be recorded and available. So just for your information, and those are ready and available at this time, and this one will be ready by this afternoon. So I'm going to start off with just a little bit of a conversation to kind of see where we are. Obviously, at the end of last year, was a little bit crazy, but I wanted to get a quick check-in and see how many of you have used ClassDojo before, and maybe with a show of hands or just type it in the chat. If you've got some previous experience, you can also use the little reaction icon to kind of Yep, there we go. I see Bria with the thumbs up. We've got a few folks there. Oh, one actually literally raised their hand. That's clever. Uh, so that was great. Oh, Cindy, learning as a coach. Excellent. Okay, very good. Now I'm going to lower Tanya's hand there. Good. For behavior, yeah. And so we definitely have seen that from Lauren. Cool. Well, we've got a few people who are with some experience. What most people are familiar with the ClassDojo is kind of the positive behavior intervention aspect of it, the modification of student conduct and using that to kind of track it or help change it. So that is definitely a piece of ClassDojo. But what I want to show you today is that it goes quite a bit beyond that. Yeah, okay, for communication, absolutely. I see that one in the chat. That is absolutely right. And so I'm glad to hear that there's some experience. So we're going to be really looking at ClassDojo today through the lens of communication and building relationships. So that's really the focus today. As such, we won't get into every aspect of it, but if you're wanting to see how to use it mainly for instruction and assessment, that's going to be week 3. And if you go back to that PD sheet, you'll see that that's the lens that we're going through in week 3. And then next week 2, will be all about norming. So how do I kind of set up ClassDojo? How do I set those structures, put them in place for my classroom, and help my parents? But particularly as K through 2, we know that the parents are heavily involved in our work with educating students. So that's going to be a piece that we really focus on for next week. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and flip over to my screen share, but before I get started, I do want to check out, are there any questions or concerns that you have around ClassDojo that you really like, hey, I really want to make sure that this gets addressed. It may be something that's going to come up naturally, but if you go ahead and type that into the chat or give a shout, then I'll make sure that we come back to that at some point, whether it's here or if I say, hey, you know what, let's connect over email. And I'm just double checking it here. Welcome those who are just joining. I don't know. Okay, Scott. For Scott and those who just joined, just want to make sure that you are aware this is being recorded. So make sure that everyone's aware and has that consent. I do see a question from Heather and Lauren, ironically, 2 teachers at my school. Thank you. Element implement other programs inside of it, such as Near. I'm assuming that's going to be Nearpod and Google Slides, and then Lauren following up with how it can be used with Google. Absolutely, and that's going to be a piece that we will make sure to address during that. Or I say keep saying we because I'm used to me and Colleen. That I will address, and that Gazi will help make sure that I get that taken care of. So I'm going to go ahead and flip over to this piece. And again, chat's a little trickier for me to see now. So if you have something, be sure to either give a shout. I definitely don't mind stopping and pausing. In fact, I'd kind of love that. But if you're feeling a little bashful, a little shy, of course, feel free to type that in, and then Jessica will stop me with that. So with the end of last year, we had COVID-19 really caused a little bit of chaos and that transition that was fairly abrupt into virtual learning. And so a lot of elementary schools chose ClassDojo or Google Classroom to really meet their needs for virtual learning. But there were others. I know personally, as a parent of elementary school students, we also had Blooms as one of those, and Facebook. So there was a patchwork of school selection. So um, as a parent of three children in Hamilton County schools, I know I got contacted and information through a lot of different venues. And while it's great to get that communication, it can be overwhelming. And so this provides an opportunity to streamline that. One thing not in here is that Hamilton County has approved ClassDojo to be the K through 2 learning management system alternative to Canvas. So that will be supported and is official. And we can come back to that conversation a little bit further about exactly what does that mean. But here were the needs that kind of became presented over that transition. We needed a way to communicate, you needed a way to submit assignments, and in particular, we needed a way to do that for our younger babies in a way that didn't necessarily require them to either be able to read or type slash write particularly well. And so that is going to be one of the needs that came up. And of course, engagement and motivation is key as well for those younger users. So that's where ClassDojo kind of comes in. It fits, and we're going to go through all of these pieces here. It fits in as a parent communication tool, positive behavior, as many of you talked about, PBIS aligned there. We're going to look heavily in the student portfolio system. That's kind of the work area of ClassDojo, where you can see your assignments and get that back and forth. And then the teacher toolbox, and we'll actually start with that piece, working backwards. The teacher toolbox is going to be a great tool for that time period where we do have those kids in front of us live in the building, and you can use some aspects of it virtually as well. Now, fair warning, as I said, this is recorded, so I am going to move kind of quickly through the slides here because I do feel like you get most of your bang for your buck seeing the actual class itself in the interface. So that's where we'll go. This is talking all about sign-on for students and parents. In case you have not been informed, Hamilton County has purchased ClassLink. ClassLink is a single sign-on service that will allow students to just sign in once, maybe with their Chrome, their Google username and password, and it will give them access to every program or app that is connected to Hamilton County. So they'll click on their class link, go straight to Reading Eggs. They'll click on another icon in ClassLink, go to Mastery Connect, go to ClassDojo. So that'll help us with that. But even without that, ClassDojo makes it very easy and will integrate with ClassLink primarily through Google. But you can also send parents a text code to get in, or even a QR code for using if they have a device with a camera, like their phone or their Kindle Fire. All of this is printed and provided for parents very clearly, and it can be sent either over email or it can be printed out and sent home with students for those times where we have kids in the building with us. And it gives them detailed directions right here that they can log in if you were to email that to them. So these individual messages go to parents and makes it very clear, and I'll say that as a parent, pretty straightforward for how to get your child logged on quickly. And I would even go so far as to say that for our younger learners, it makes it very easy for them to do it themselves, particularly the QR code feature. while they're learning their Google password or anything else. And the text code is just going to be something like a 6-character code. So that's pretty easy. This one's well done if you're going to do it in front of the class live. You can just put that code up in front of the class. And then when they type that in, it'll let them choose their avatar. So as far as student independence goes, I'm using images here from Colleen Ryan's class. That's one of her students. And so you'll see Miss Ryan on a lot of these because as an instructional coach, I have access to a lot of classes, but she really used this program well at the end of last year as they transitioned into virtual work. So we'll be seeing her class today. She's added me as a teacher. Um, on here, we can have, you'll see here that we've got the students to-do list. And this is kind of their homepage and what it would look like on the app if they're looking at it on iOS or Android. And we'll show you the web browser version as well. But you'll see here it's got a class there. It's got a link to their class story, which is kind of the communication piece that's used almost like Facebook. And we'll get into that a little bit deeper. We've got their to-do list, and the to-do list is a powerful tool because it shows just what they need to do for that particular task. One of the frustrating pieces I found using Google Classroom, though I am a Google aficionado, is kids having some difficulty kind of navigating through that to figure out, have I completed this task? And if so, how do I mark that as done? Or how do I see what's ready to do right now? ClassDojo doesn't have that issue. The assignments come up from oldest to newest, and when they finish it, it goes away. So it clears right off of their screen. So that is that's great for my management. I'm gonna have to start using that for my own tasks. You can see here they've got another avenue for how work can be turned in. This one, it says, say something about your drawing. So a student literally did a drawing here and turned that in as one of their ways. So they can submit it with lots of different tools to use to turn in work in different avenues. This student portfolio, I know as a third grade and fourth grade teacher, I always was like, hey, it would be great if my kids had a digital portfolio of their work when they finished third grade or fourth grade or finished this year with me as even a related arts teacher. Wouldn't it be great if they could take that with them? Well, ClassDojo does that, and it does that natively without any extra effort from you as a teacher or the student. You can see here, I told you we'd see the web browser version here, and that's what we're seeing here now. If this student had multiple classes, they would be all right here, so they could go and access work from multiple teachers. You can see this is the sample to do, and it just shows the first 2 assignments. If there's more, they can hit view all and they'll get more, but this is just the oldest to newest, and they can literally just go to hit start and get going with that. These portfolios do travel with students. So if your kids leave kindergarten and go to first grade, they can go back and see all of their previous work. And their first grade teacher connected with them in ClassDojo can also go back and review that previous work. So what a great way to kind of get an authentic gauge of what a student actually was able to do and what they did in the previous year when they come in. And we spend so much time when students show up kind of figuring out where you are, what can you do, and how, well, this will really give you an answer to that question. Oh, we didn't do that last year. No, honey, we did. Yeah, look, I can see it right here. So, and then one of the cool features is once you get families connected, which adds to its power, they can see the work and even comment on it for their student only, or any of the students that they are connected to. This is what it looks like on the teacher creation side. And again, we will get into that, but it's pretty straightforward. You get your title, you can give your directions, and then you select how you want students to be able to answer or respond to those instructions. I will say with any of these latter 3, video, photo, and drawing, there's also a text component. For example, in the drawing, the student can put a caption on that. Excuse me, they can use the text feature in the drawing. On the photo, they can put a caption to that. So there's usually, if you want to encourage some more text response, that is available for nearly all of those. And of course, if you just do text, it's all typing, and then they won't allow them to do any other interface. So for our younger users, this is probably the least desirable manner to have them submitting things. You can see for this one, this is a sample from one of Colleen's here. She's got these 3 different buttons here where it shows how many have you approved? That means I've looked at the work and said, here you go, that's awesome. I've given you my stamp of approval. Pending means they turned it in, but I haven't really done anything with it yet. Or I've returned it back to them and I need them to continue working on it. And then not yet submitted is just the kids who haven't even gotten going with that at all. And then you see once again a video one here that a student turned in with regard to that work, and some of the commentary going back and forth between Miss Ryan and the student Bradley. So again, teachers can leave comments and so can parents for their work. When the students go to submit this assignment, it's very intuitive. Again, they'll have the to-do, they go ahead and hit start. They'll do whatever it is that you have in the directions. In this case, it's share at least 3 goals you have for the school year. And then when they're finished, they literally just hit hand in. Again, just going through, these were the response types. I am excited about the beta coming out for the worksheet, which will quite literally allow teachers to take a picture of a worksheet and upload it as a PDF, and students can annotate right on top of that. So that's going to be a great feature. But all of these will work super well in conjunction with some of the other tools that Hamilton County has available for this upcoming year, including Nearpod. So that'll be awesome. And I'll show you again, we'll get into this and look at all of that. But my first grade daughter, rising second grader, I literally did a sample one with her while I was investigating ClassDojo and Seesaw and Class Kick and all of these other ones this summer. Class Tag, sorry, Class Kick was for the high school. And I put her down in front of the computer and said, hey, figure out how to do this assignment, which I'd given her a practice one. And she had no issue. She jumped in, was able to kind of see what was the idea and respond to it appropriately without any instruction from me. So that was, to me, a real testament to the intuitive navigation and how it's set up. So again, we will see that, just giving you this quick overview to kind of frame your questions. And last but not least, oh, do I see something from Jessica? Were you getting ready to jump?
There was a question about the timeline on beta. Do you know when that might be released and if we might have that for the upcoming school year?
Great question. So what I was told, and when I say told, I was told by Colleen, again, who is that ambassador, who has that direct pipeline into ClassDojo Central. They told, what she was told was a couple of weeks. So that's not very specific. But what they were very specific is that it would absolutely be ready for a school year that begins in August. So I'm going to say we'll hold their feet to the fire on that one. But they said that this was supposed to be a couple of weeks, which to me sounds like July, by the end of July. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I haven't actually seen the beta version of that. I requested early access and wasn't able to get in. So hopefully that answers that question, Jessica, and let me know if there was anything else, if I need to follow up.
Sure, you're good for now.
Okay, so on the communication side, great tools for communicating with families, and that's really done through 2 ways. We've got the class story, which you can see here is kind of the mobile view, and that kind of feels more like, for lack of a better phrase, your Facebook wall, right? It's going to have everything up that the teacher puts about what's going on in that classroom. Like Facebook, you can see, you can get likes, but one of the most powerful features is you can see who has viewed it specifically. And so if I click in here, and we'll do that in the actual practice one, it'll show me who's seen it and who hasn't. And so you can start to observe some trends and patterns, maybe from families who haven't interacted with your content in a while, and that, maybe a couple of days let you know, hey, I better maybe do a little check-in or and follow up with that. You can also do within your class story, you can post photos, you can do events, you can do recordings as the teacher, like literally just recording yourself up to 8 minutes and put that into your story as well. You have remind-like features with your conversations and messages with parents. I can email or text message parents directly, depending on what they've set up, how they want to receive their notifications. They can get them by phone, they can get them by email, they can get both. And one of the awesome features of ClassDojo, translation available for over 35 languages. So as a parent, when I accept that ClassDojo request, I can set up the language that I would like to respond. or read rather those messages, and I can respond in Spanish if that's my language. And the teacher, when they receive that, can then translate that into English. Do take note, it does show you both versions. So if you are just wanting to check, if you're multi-language fluent, and you're wanting to check the accuracy, you can see both languages when you go to translate that. I saw something pop up in the chat. So Jessica, anything that I need to pause here for?
No, you are on it.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm on it. Very kind, very kind. Thank you. I will say you can connect multiple parents with individual students, so that makes it easy if you have you want mom and dad involved, or if you have multiple individuals who are interested, invested in that child's education. Maybe the parents are also cool with having uncles and aunties or grandparents also connected to that child. That's absolutely possible. We're going to see a sample student today that has several teachers connected. I'm one of them, as well as some others. So you can have multiple people connected to that. And for my related arts teachers, if there's any here, one of the coolest things about once a student gets connected to a school's directory with that information, it doesn't matter who puts it in there. Everyone it has access to that is in that school's directory. So for example, for me, I don't have to say, I'll use one of the teachers here today, oh, Ms. Parker, will you send your class a remind message about XYZ? I can literally go to, if Ms. Parker has shared her class with me, I can go and post a message in her class story. And instead of saying Ms. Parker, it'll say Mr. Williams on there. So the kids will know who that came from. Even if I'm not shared in that class, I can still message the students directly. Excuse me, I should say message the contacts connected to those students directly through the school directory. So I can go and get access to that just by virtue of being a teacher in the school. So really helps increase that communication, which is a big piece of our focus today. This is what the format looks like as you go to posting in your class story. And you can see here's a sample completed one by Miss Ryan showing the message that she has here, and an embedded hyperlink where you can just literally paste links from other web pages, apps, what have you, and parents and students can just come and click right there, take them directly to where they need to go. Again, coming back to the likes and views feature. School story is a little bit bigger. That takes it one step removed, and now this goes to the entire school. So this is really awesome for when you need to do things like, I know for at Rivermind at Miss Ryan, they were posting information about summer registration for things coming up for next school year, as they were talking about the school surveys that were going out. So again, school story is the same as class, but just allows to everyone to have access. And if you get your school leaders connected to that, makes it easy to get information out to every single parent and teacher that's connected to the school. So, all right, I think that's going to bring us to the end of just this, the quick part here. I'm going to pop out of my shared screen view for just a second so I can check in here and see if there's any questions real quick before we move into the actual live drive. Did I see a comment from Tiffany here? Realizing when parents had commented on a class story, I didn't get an alert or anything. Yeah, Tiffany, that does require that you kind of stay actively involved in your class stories. So you would want to check in with that and see. I will double check and make sure if there's a way to turn on a notification for that. I haven't seen that feature, but I will verify and see if that's an option. Let's see, I saw another question about, can students comment on the story or just parents? Great question. You can actually choose how you want that to do. By default, parents can comment on that, and then you can also allow students, or you can just turn off all comments if you just want it to be one directional communication where I don't really want anyone to comment, and I just want this to be an avenue to get information out to my community. So you have some options on that, on the class story. So I'm just writing down here alerts for class story. So that was from Tiffany Leonard. So I will make sure to follow up with that, and I appreciate the question. So Okay, let's go into, oh, any other questions before I start driving through the actual class? Okay, well, again, if any pop up, as always, feel free to jump in. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to a different tab here and show you here. So this is the view that if you've used ClassDojo before, you are probably most familiar with, and it shows a particular student, a particular classroom. You can see this Miss Ryan's robots with students in here and all of the numbers that kind of go along with the points that are assigned. Now, we're not going to get heavy into that piece right now. As I said, I was going to start in reverse order. So I'm going to start down here with the toolkit. If you can see down at the bottom, we've got several options down here. This toolkit is a very useful feature with lots of things, a timer, randomly selecting students, making students into groups, again, both intentionally and random. In live and in person, it's a great little noise meter that you can have that shows on the screen for kids. So if you've got a projector or a television that you keep connected to a laptop or maybe for an Apple TV, then that's one that you could use. The music just comes in two flavors. It's just focus and active. So this is great because it's upbeat, up-tempo music or more contemplative music, but there's no lyrics. And so that's a nice one to play in the classroom, and it's always changing, so it doesn't get stale. This is kind of like morning message stuff that you can place up here. You've got your think, pair, share, and then directions. One of the nice things about directions is I can be logged into my ClassDojo account on multiple devices. So in my room, I would typically have it on my phone and then also connected to the computer, which was connected to a television or a projector. And so with that, I could make alterations or adjustments on my phone, which would then refresh on the screen in front of the class. So that was a very useful feature for in-class usage there. And I'm going to refresh the screen because it looks like things are a little jammed up here. So that is the toolkit, which is in the bottom there. Any questions before I kind of move on to the next piece? In addition to the toolkit, you've got some other options down here along the bottom. Attendance can be useful if you're just wanting to see like who's there, maybe for Zoom calls. See, it says mark all as present, mark all as absent, or I can individually click on students. So I might say, oh, they're not here today. So, or maybe they came in late. We've got another feature here is like a tardy. So you can decide kind of how you want that to view. Select multiple is useful if you need to get, a small group of kids, one kid, maybe 5 kids, you can hit that. Randomization and timer we saw in the toolkit, but they're also present here. And then Big Ideas is a great series of social emotional videos, highly, highly polished, and they're really well done. And you can see the topics that are here from growth mindset to mindfulness. So very nice. And I've used and watched many of those. So those are really encouraging and a great tool to use with students, whether you do it live or give them access to those virtually. We'll start over here in the class story. So you can see here in the class story, and I'm going to kind of jump down to Miss Ryan's one right as the end of the school year. It's got, kind of Facebook style. It's got your date. It's got the task in here or whatever the message that she had given you there. Got your number of likes and your views. And as I click in that, you can see the parents that have actually seen it. You can see those who have not seen it. Oh, I haven't viewed this one yet on there. And so as you again start to look through that, you can begin to make some observations and note some trends. You'll see here also that she's got several things that are underlined. These represent hyperlinks to content that she wants her students to view. So Miss Ryan was really fond of setting this up as it says here, a weekly overview, but really letting kids see what's coming for the entire week, and parents. For me as a parent, the teachers that did this was a lifesaver because I was able to see what was coming up and we could plan our work accordingly, especially with something like this weekly overview. This gave a little map here with a Google Doc that is set up for the whole week. And I knew I could just come here as a parent or even have my daughter have access to this and be able to go through and see everything that was needed for the entire week. as well as get more specific guidance each day for a specific task. So this one is a Google slide that is right here, and you can see she's given some information to parents, right? So this is really directed at the adults. Again, with our younger kids, that's going to be an essential piece. So this is really helping your parents to understand what's happening each day. So it gives them that extra support and guidance to be able to support you as the teacher. She even put Zoom times and things in there. So really cool. But this does come back to the question we got earlier about how to integrate um, Google Docs, Google Slides, what have you in here. This is a great way. One thing it does not have, and I'll be very transparent about that, there's no way for a kid in here who's going to, if you want them, say as a second grade student who might be a little more capable, to fill out a Google Doc and turn that in. Unlike Google Classroom, there is no Google Doc submission feature in the class story or in the portfolio. If you assign the assignment through their portfolio, they can, of course, turn it in there. But if you're really wanting a robust Google connection with your students, I'm going to really recommend maybe using Nearpod as an alternative there. We actually have our Nearpod expert with us on the call here. And if you're like, what in the world is Nearpod? There are some sessions. You can see some previously recorded videos that took place yesterday and the day before, as well as some enrichment / extension sessions coming up starting today and tomorrow on Nearpod. If you do an event here, what it does is it will keep the event near the top of your feed. So that's going to be really important. And it'll continue to stay up near the top until that event takes place and passes by, in which case it just falls down in the regular feed in its place chronologically. So that's a really great feature if you need something to stay present up there. The record means as I'm giving directions or making this announcement, I can literally just hit that and it will start recording the video up to 8 minutes in length, and I can embed pictures and files here as well. So a really robust way to use this one. And the reason I keep mentioning these hyperlinks in here is twofold. One is because, again, as we communicate with both our parents and our students, this is an easy way to make sure everyone has access to it and is instantly clickable. However, there is a drawback with ClassDojo in that if students are using a browser to look on this, say like a Google Chromebook or whatever, this part works great. When they get into their portfolio, and I'll show you that coming up, these links don't become clickable. So if they're on a Kindle Fire or an iPad or an Android tablet, every time you put in a hyperlink, no matter where you put it, it's always clickable. However, as our district is primarily Chromebook, if you leave out of here and you go into your portfolio and you put that same hyperlink into one of your activities, it is not clickable if they are on a web browser. And so I'll show you a little bit more what I mean about that. This portfolio section is where you can really see the work gets done. So whether you have your kids completing tasks with other tools, you always have the tools embedded right here in ClassDojo that are available for kids to use to show you what they know. And so over here are your activities. This is another, just their word for assignments. And you can see there's a ton there. Well, you can't see that, but there are a whole bunch of archived assignments as well. As a teacher, you can view them by all posts, which just puts everything up here arranged by date. Or I can choose to go into a specific task and see the assignments with that. When you do that, you can see here, it shows that 3 were approved. There are 0 pending approval and 18 not yet submitted. And this assignment appears to have enabled you to turn in work with video and a picture. So that one is there. And we have this test assignment as well. Again, just showing what that looks like. This is part of the directions, and this is what I'm going to use to show you. So you see this hyperlink. This is what, let me just do it. Let's just go do a live one here. So if I'm going to do a sample assignment, let's say my test assignment, if I need kids to go somewhere and I put that into this assignment, when they receive this on an iPad, they'll absolutely be able to click on that. When they see it in a browser, they won't. So to get around that gap, Colleen and I really will encourage you to make anything that you need clickable, put that into the class story. Again, that will really be helpful to the parents as well. You can see all the features here, and you can just go ahead. I'll just put in here a drawing for this one and go ahead and assign that to the class. So you get that little icon here that represents drawing, and that's now been assigned to the class. I'm going to switch over to a student view. This is Miss Ryan's sample kid, Pickle Snickle, and I'm going to refresh this view. And when the student gets that, you can see right now, oh, hey, I've got all of my assignments up here. I can hit view all and see everything that is available. And as you hit it, it goes away. Once again, as I was just showing you, I hit start in the web browser, though that link was not clickable that I had here. And let me just close that and show it one more time. So in the browser, can't do anything with that. However, this piece allows to go ahead and just turn in whatever it is. If you had them doing CVC words, if you wanted them to do 3 sight words, if you wanted to have all that, they can go ahead and put that in here. So I don't know, and I have a touch screen, so it makes it a little easier here, but maybe I'm just like, oh, hey, I've got cat. I can even add a microphone, which allows me to record some audio along with that. I'm not going to try that since Zoom is using my audio right now. And a caption as well as text if you need them to type anything. So a lot of features available. I'm going to go ahead and just save that like I'm turning it in for the teacher. There we go. I had to move this so I can hit hand in. All right, and then going back to the teacher view, if I refresh that on the test assignment, what I'll see here is, there we go. We've got a new one here for a test assignment. Pickle Snickle has turned this in. It's got the yellow bell to let me know it needs some attention. It needs me to approve it. If I click on that, I can see the assignment. If there was audio, I would literally be able to hit play right here to hear that. And I can give commentary like, oh, you need to work on that. Maybe I'll return it as a draft or approve it. So if you do return it as a draft, it just goes right back into their to-do list, and they can go back in, but they can see the feedback that you give right there when they get that assignment. So that gives you that piece there. Now, that's kind of the portfolio piece. I am going to go into the messages, but I do want to take a quick pause and see if there was anything that anyone had questions about or comments in this area. Okay, well, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead into our final area, which is in the messages. Now, for those of you, again, I keep bringing up Remind because that was the feature that I used mainly when I was communicating with parents as a classroom teacher. I honestly feel like this is so much more powerful. You can, again, send messages to all parents right here if you need to hit everyone, or if you need to hit students up individually. If I want to send this to Pickle Snickle's parent, I can go ahead and send that message directly there, again, including files that maybe I need them to have access to, or pictures right there. If I do need to send them something with video, again, our class story is a better place for that because that won't be an option here. But this is just an individual one to this student's parent. Again, translation natively embedded, so students and parents can have access to that, again, or any adults connected to this child.
Hey, Arthur.
Yeah.
We've got here. So you talked a little bit earlier about the portfolio and how it saves this for the next year. Is that all the assignments, or do the teachers go through and select what will be saved?
So let me make sure if I'm understanding the question correctly. If I get a kid from another year, like I'm a first grade teacher and a kindergarten teacher comes up to me, kindergarten kid comes, can I see all of the assignments? Is that what it was?
Well, specifically it says, does portfolio save all assignments, or do you curate what gets saved for the next year?
Oh no, it saves everything that gets approved. So if I approve this assignment for Pickle Snickle, that student will maintain and keep that assignment forever and ever, amen, right? So that will stick with that kid.
I like Pickle Snickle.
Yeah.
The other one was talking about the feature that was similar to Remind, where you're contacting teachers, or I'm sorry, where you're contacting parents. Can you talk about, do parents have the option to reply back through that?
Yes, they do. And it depends on which, again, ClassDojo used to only be email communication, but now it does send it to text messages if they have a phone number set up. Um, and I don't think I necessarily, this is the parent view here um, for me as a parent of this person. If I have, so you can see here, this is like my text interface with some of my daughter's other teachers. So this is literally back and forth between me and Miss Matthews, right? For Riley's code here, this is her sending this out, me responding back and forth there. So yeah, I did that on my phone, but I could have also done it with email as well. And I'm trying to see where Miss Ryan is on here. There we go. So this one is clear, but you can see here how she sent this to parents with the hyperlinks embedded in there. And if I wanted to respond here on the browser, I could do that, but I could also respond in email or on my phone. So there's a lot of response options available to parents.
Perfect. Thank you.
Quiet hours, we've seen that in other apps as well. If you're like, hey, and I know in Blooms it does it as well. If you were like, oh, I would really, it doesn't stop you as a teacher from getting the message when the parent sends it at midnight, but it does instantly send them that message and say, hey, these are my quiet hours. I'll get back with you whenever, right? So that lets them know that they shouldn't be expecting an answer at that time. So it'll also allow you as the teacher to not get that notification or that buzz on your phone necessarily to interrupt you while you're trying to go to bed. So that is, again, a very similar feature to what you would see in some of the more popular apps. So, and that's really the end of messages, class story, and
Can,
portfolio.
can we, one quick question, is there any limitations on the messaging feature, like how long it can be or what you could add in there?
Oh, as far as like how many characters or anything?
Yeah, I think anything along that line, just any limitations.
No, I've never seen anything approaching. I mean, if you just saw the one that Miss Ryan sent, I mean, it was pretty substantial. I do think there is a limitation on the file size. Let's see. Well, wow, nothing. It just says giddy up uh, on that. So yeah, I've never seen any limits by way of that. I'm sure there probably is somewhere at some point a limit, but again, no matter how long I've gone or the teachers that I've worked with on that, we've never run into that. So I don't again, I really, I guess I don't have a clear answer for you on that, but I've never heard of anything regarding a limit on that. Any other follow up, or are we okay there?
Nope. I mean, people just chiming in with their own experience, but you're
Cool.
good.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. And maybe if you have some other users there who can fill that in. But again, yeah, never having seen. I'm just trying to think like this is an example of one that went to someone's cell phone from Miss Ryan. And it's it's a lot of text. So no issues there on, on the link there, files, screenshots, no issues. So hopefully, I mean, yeah, like I said, that's a good question, but I've never run into anything regarding any kind of a limit on what you can attach or type. So, it's okay. So that kind of brings us to the end of this overview. So I was just wanting to show that, and I'm going to stop sharing here and pop back into the main discussion. So as we consider this tool as one that is available for really supported at the K through 2 level, but certainly will be available for third, fourth, and fifth. I'm curious to hear if anyone has any ideas around how you might consider using it, how you used it in the past, or what you're looking forward to now that you've heard some of the other features that it has available. And feel free to give a shout out or drop that into the text box. While you're thinking about that, I'll go ahead and answer Tony's question about teachers adding admin to their classes. I would say so. There's two separate areas. You can add admin to your school, and or you can add admin to your classes, right? So if you add them to your class, they kind of take the role of a co-teacher. And so that is a little different, right? That gives them a little more granular access and control to your class. I don't know of any administrators necessarily super excited about being a co-teacher in your class. They're more interested in being connected to the school so they can see the big picture. And so as far as reviewing information and communication, they can see your school story if they're connected to the school, and they can see, or your class story, sorry, and they can see the school stories, but they don't see your individual communication with your parents that comes on the messages feature. They're not, that's not accessible. So, but certainly as Tiffany said, yeah, they can ask. Um, so that's definitely an option there. And Tiffany, if you want to elaborate on ESL or related arts, then that'd be great too. Heather Parker asks, how do we get started? Yeah, you literally just go to classdojo.com. It'll ask you, do you want to create an account? And as you do that, it'll ask you, do you want to do it as a teacher, parent, student, or administrator? Um, and then you just get started going in there. I will say there is an approval process that has to take place. So if I say a teacher, it's going to ask me, where do I teach? It'll pull up the list of schools in your area that you put like as a zip code or whatever. And you say, hey, I teach at Lakeside Academy, which is my school. There's a person at Lakeside Academy who has to verify you actually teach at that school, so that you don't get random people just joining your school. So for that person at my school is me. Anytime someone requests to join a school, I see that and I hit, yeah, that's a teacher here, or no, oh, this has approved me. Come on now. Yeah, so but what that does is it keeps, believe it or not, we have students that want to join as teachers in the school so that they can give, positive points for their different houses, because we do a house system at my school. I can't imagine why they would want to do that. So it's very entertaining to see different usernames and email addresses get pop up there to try and see and get joined into the school. But it does require approval. Just scanning back through the chat here. Emily Adams talking about how much is available to do with Dojo. Yeah, good. I'm glad that you heard that you got that from this. So I'm glad to see that. Miss Jones, in the past, we've connected other K teachers on my team. Yep, definitely. And you can connect to teachers that are not even at your school, right? Like, so Miss Ryan that I showed you, she's at Rivermont and I'm at Lakeside. She added me to her class so I could see that and use that information to help inform me as I start to think about what I want to do for my class. So that's a really useful feature. It's not as powerful as Canvas, where you share templates and courses through Canvas. It's not that, right? You're literally getting access to that teacher's classroom when you share it. But it is still a really cool, useful tool for collaboration. Cindy asks, do teachers use this for all assignments? The term portfolio is throwing me a little. Cindy, do you want to elaborate on that any, on what you mean by the language and maybe all assignments?
Sure. So when I think of a portfolio, usually the kids pick their, a few of their best work from the year to put in a portfolio. So that's kind of what I have in my head. But do teachers who use this tend to use it for every assignment? The kids turn in all their stuff here, or is it just some assignments?
So I think it just depends on the teacher, and I won't speak for all teachers, but I know that Colleen used it in a hybrid fashion. She had kids turning in some work through the portfolio feature, and then she had them doing some work in other areas, such as Google Docs and Nearpod. So she did have other ways for them, but anything that she really wanted to see as far as what do I need to understand what you know and really understand what you know, that she used portfolio. She made sure that that was always something that she could do. And I just to give one other plug, I know one of the teachers asked in the last session about, do you need to put things in there for parents to print or download? And yeah, you certainly can do that. But one of the best features about having kids be able to turn in things with a camera or take a picture of it is you can just say, hey, go write it on a piece of paper at your house or a whiteboard and take the picture of that and turn that in. And now kids, I mean, I've seen 3-year-olds work an iPad camera, right? Like they're so like able to just jump in as digital natives and use the technology, not necessarily for creation at high level. That's what we're here for. But as far as being able to just utilize it, yeah, it's very intuitive. So I think that's one of the best features there is just get in there. Thank you, Jessica, for putting that in for the 1 hour of attendance. That is for you to get your dinero. Um, so make sure you click that link if you need it. Just swinging back through here. Computer lab teacher wants to be added. Let parents know. ESLs like to add points for student behavior. Library. Yeah, so great examples there, Tiffany. Thank you. And then Cindy's question. Oh, clarification from Lauren. She asked, will Nearpod will work like Google in terms of interaction with work, and Nearpod works with Dojo. So what I think I hear you saying is, can I use Nearpod with Dojo or through Dojo? And the answer is yes. I would definitely say, again, if you want to make sure that hyperlink is ready, put it in your class story, and you can share links to Nearpods through a link. You can share them through class codes if you just want to have them go to nearpod.com and type in the code. Jessica, you can have your link have the code natively embedded, right? So it'll just, you click the link and it's automatically puts the code in, right?
Yeah, you can send it via link or code, either way, but the link works just fine.
So that's probably the best way for our littles is we don't want them to necessarily have to type in anything. So just, you can put the link in there to the Nearpod. And then within that Nearpod, they can draw, write, do a flip grid. They can do a virtual field trip, all kinds of cool stuff that you can learn more about in Jessica Ghazi's Nearpod sessions. So yeah, definitely Nearpod is going to read that. And the cool thing about the Nearpod is it gets rid of that problem with the Google, right? Because now if my kid does a Google Doc, and they can't figure out how to turn that into me or share it with me because we're not using Google Classroom. Well, in the Nearpod, it automatically has their name attached to their work, and I get that in a central repository called nearpod.com. I can see every piece of data that came from all of my students as they do each Nearpod. So it really removes that that barrier, that gap that you lose from moving from Google Classroom to Dojo. If you use Nearpod, really cool stuff. Okay, excited to use it. Yay, Miss Jones, go ahead, girl. And then Tony saying this will be great when we get back to normal. Well, we don't know what new normal looks like, right? So we'll see, but hopefully it's useful for everyone. Guys, I'm 6 minutes over, so I do want to let you know you don't have to feel obligated to stick around to keep me happy. Jessica has already put the link to your money in there. So if you make sure to put that in, make sure to put in a full hour.